Alongside the banks of the Monongahela River, we welcome you to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania at Highmark Stadium. The Riverhounds welcome Monterey Bay. Tonight's match presented by Allegheny Health Network, official medical provider of the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. Take a look at the standings going into Week 18, and Pittsburgh has some work to do, but only 4 points beneath Rhode Island, who have slithered into playoff position. All the while, for Monterey Bay in the Western Conference, it's a side that's very much hanging in. With Ricky Lopez-Espin, Mike Watts on hand, and if you think about this Pittsburgh side, it's the offensive end that just has not been able to get going.
A side that's only scored 11 times in this 2024 campaign. That's going to be the question for Bob Lilly. How efficient and clinical can they be in front of the goal? Because they're creating opportunities, but now being composed, slowing this thing down, and trust your training. But no better opportunity, Mike, here at home against Monterey Bay in front of your home faithful.
It has been over a month since a Pittsburgh goal, but tonight's player to watch, presented by Modelo, is Edward Kizza. If anyone's going to get going, it might well be him.
3 goals on the season. I asked Bob Lilly about him, and he said he should be around the 7, 8, 9 goal mark because he has the opportunities, but has not found the back of net. He's going to start up high. What does his service look like against Edward Kizza, and how confident can he be here tonight?
Conversely, Monterey Bay is still in a pretty decent position given the number of injuries they've suffered through, but look at how tightly compact it is between second place and missing the playoffs altogether. Monterey Bay sits in 7th. Their silver lining this year has been Anthony Siaha. However, with an arm injury, he's going to miss tonight. This is a guy who leads the league in saves and has most certainly saved points for Monterey Bay this year.
And he's been so good between the sticks, his leadership skills, his organization skills, and he's been a big part of why they've been so successful on the back end of it. But yet, since he's out of injury, what is an opportunity to present? Carlos Herrera. First started this regular season in USL Championship. He needs to be really good in terms of his confidence, communication skills, and organizing in that back. I will not be surprised if we see the back line from Monterey Bay just play a ball into him to get him in rhythm.
For the 26-year-old, it is his 26th start over the last 2+ seasons. Bob Lilly and the Hounds trying to find their way against another experienced manager, Frank Yallop, trying to put the right pieces together with a rash of injuries to consider. We've got lineups and kickoff coming up in Pittsburgh after this.
Looking amazing.
At AHN, we see you trying to be your absolute best. And when it feels like you lost your best along the way.
Okay.
We see you taking control.
Looks good. Prescription. It says here.
And needing the quickest care possible.
Let's go.
At AHN, we see you.
Ain't no better feeling than a cold one in my hand. That's why I'll be keeping Iron City in my plans. Oh, everywhere I roam, I'll be thinking about my home. Sitting pouring on the iron right before I go to rest. And when I'm laying in my bed, there's only one thing in my head. Just an ice cold can of Pittsburgh, PA's best.
Want to save on some of the biggest names in streaming on the network made for streaming? X marks the spot. Now get Xfinity Internet for 12 months and add the new Stream Saver that includes Netflix, Peacock, and Apple TV+. That's Xfinity Internet for $25 a month plus Stream Saver for $15. All your favorites, all in one place, all for one low price. For more watching and less spending, X marks the spot. Switch to Xfinity, the network made for streaming, and bring on the good stuff.
Tonight's match is presented by Allegheny Health Network, the official medical provider of the Pittsburgh Riverhounds Soccer Club. Here we go in Pittsburgh. Take a look at the starting lineup for the Riverhounds tonight, and they've made a handful of changes, most notably Danny Griffin unavailable for selection.
So you look at that double pairing in the center of the park, Walsey and Sample. What does that relationship look like? How quickly can they get on the ball in that front two? Kizza and Johnson, look for them to occupy the center backs. And then you have Etsu and Mertz filling the gaps underneath, but their work rate on both sides of the ball is going to be really important for Bob Lilly.
Conversely, the injury issues continue for Monterey Bay, but they do welcome back Rafa Baca in midfield and the first start for Seni Buddha up front.
I do think that the number one importance is going to be Baca. Look for him to dictate tempo, get into this game, and then you let the players higher up the field express themselves. Enriquez, Buddha, and Dixon, players that can combine, beat you 1v1. I do think for Frankie Alp, how compact can you be in the back and let yourself grow into this game?
Here we go on this Saturday night in Pittsburgh. Joe Sergen is the referee for this affair. Fort Highmark. Is this the night that the Riverhounds find their way again? The Paul Child stand is amped up and ready to go. And the Hounds will try and make a point tonight, inch ever closer back to playoff position. You know, Ricky, so often we see the Hounds leading the way in the Eastern Conference. This is an uncomfortable truth right now. And yet, you look at the chances they've created. If they even had a standard, an average amount of conversion rate in front of goal, this is a team that would be 10, 15 points higher according to the analytics.
100%. We had the ability to talk with Bob Lilly. That's the first thing, the first topic that he wanted to cover. We haven't been good enough in front of net. Big opportunity here at home.
Riverhounds get the first kick, and here we go at Highmark Stadium in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It's the Riverhounds welcoming Monterey Bay for the first time. Ball knotted away from Kizza, snapped in by Johnson. There are only 3 of the 23 potential opponents in the league that have never played at Highmark. Monterey Bay crosses their name off that list. The other 2 come later in the summer, including the expansion side, Rhode Island. Ball launched into the penalty area and snagged by Eric Dick, who's back in the starting position here tonight. It's been regrettably a turnstile for Pittsburgh in goal, which isn't entirely unfamiliar. We'll see if Dick can stick with the job moving forward. It's the 11th start of the campaign.
It's a quality goalkeeper, very comfortable with the ball at his feet. I think that's for Carlos Herrera. It's an opportunity. The same thing here for Dick. How do you get this position to be yours?
Oh, man. The man in the black beret. It's gone all wrong. It's 2 balls when 1 ball is needed. Donor. The injury report tonight is a bit staggering on its face. It's presented by Epic Insurance. Monterey Bay, it seems like it never ends, and it's a lot of attacking players. Traeger is out tonight due to personal reasons. Archimed out for the season. Boone very well could be as well. The name for Pittsburgh, however, is a big one. In 5 years, Danny Griffin has been able to play in every single league match that he's been rostered for the Hounds. He also had a brief stint at Huntsville in MLS Next Pro, which adds a caveat to it. Spent about 3 months in Next Pro before coming back to the championship. The point being, we don't really know the Hounds without Danny Griffin, if we're being honest.
I mean, the chat off air about him, the Iron Man for Bob Lilly and the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. So important on both sides of the ball. A special player. So now if you're Walsey and Sample, what does that look like in terms of that relationship, the engine for this home side here today?
Well, Samano sends it out to the line. Shuey Enriquez looking to hand this off. Homer Martinez not interested either. It'll be Galloway getting the biceps going. Tight quarters here in Pittsburgh, so Galloway will take as much of a crow hop as he can. Galloway floats over the penalty area, chested back. Baca knocks it down. Here's Alex Dixon. Hangs the cross and lands with Dick. Alex Dixon, of course, a very productive player with Bob Lilly, not only here in Pittsburgh, where his time here ended in 2022, but also in Rochester. Of course, scored against the Hounds last year with Monterey Bay in a 2-2 thriller in Seaside, California. But his first time back in the Steel City since he left in free agency ahead of the 2023 season. All lifted into the final third. Blackstock trying to create a way by Baca. Dealt with by Suber. Sets back. The keys to the game are brought to you by the premium light lager that embodies all things black and gold. IC Light. Pittsburgh, get that goal. Any goal.
The first goal was always going to be important, and that's exactly what Bob Lilly mentioned. We need to find the back of the net so we can grow into this game. And for Monterey Bay, you earn the right to play. You see how tight Highmark is. Pittsburgh Riverhounds so good. So how do you match that intensity? And then you can let your football take you over the top and gather your points.
Pittsburgh, no goals in the last 5 games, 483 minutes. Only 11 goals on the season. That's the fewest in the championship. It is, to be fair, a side that traditionally wins with grit and determination, but we've never quite seen the Hounds suffer a power outage like this. And of course, following the departure over the offseason of Albert Dequa, who's led Rhode Island back into playoff position after they scuffled out of the gates. Golden Boot winner and the league MVP last year. Back from Kai Green. Johnson. Header upfield, Mertz quaffs it along. Spots the run of Etu. Finds the shade, Etu ultimately hit off his heel after Donor blocked the first cross.
We've seen this Riverhound side show of back 4, but also can quickly shift into a back 3. So you have Biasi, Sumanu, and Suber as the back 3, and then you let Blackstock, and Etu push higher up and join the attack. So you have a lot of expansive football for Bob Lilly, and that's going to play into the hands of Robbie Mertz, Walty, and Sample to operate in those central locations. If you are the 2 outside backs for Monterey Bay, how good can you be defensively? That's going to be a big talking point for Frank Yallop.
Soars overhead from Suber, gets out of play. There's Bob Lilly, 7th season at the helm, 5-time USL Coach of the Year, dating back to prior to the modern era, which is considered 2011 and beyond. Out of play once more. By the way, speaking of Pittsburgh legends, a quick nod to the fact that the Penguins longtime announcer Steve Mears has just agreed to a deal to head to Columbus, a little closer to where he went to school. He went to Bowling Green State, was a bit of a Blue Jacket fan there. The new TV voice of the Blue Jackets, and wishing Mearsy all the best. I had a very brief stint at NHL headquarters very early in my career, off air of course. I just don't talk fast enough for the hockey. He was always quite kind in our brief interactions there, wishing him the best. Johnson. Oh, Johnson getting jiggy with it. He goes down. Referee took a long look, and now he's shown a foul against Johnson.
And he's a play that you need to get going if you are the Riverhounds. So instinctual, higher up the field as he picks up this second ball right here. Take a look at it. see much in that, to be honest.
I
Maybe
don't
it's a handball at the end of it that gets him in trouble. If you are Kizza and Johnson, how do you work together to unbalance this Monterey Bay side? Yes, both possess pace to run in behind and be vertical in nature, but you want someone to come to feet. That push and pull mentality higher up the field can be key for this home side.
Monterey Bay has been as high as 3rd, 4th place. Very compact Western Conference back through Kai Green. Showed their injuries earlier. It really is jaw-dropping. Playing Lara at center back a bit. Guzman coming off of a yellow card suspension. Traeger out with personal reasons on this occasion. They're without their starting goalkeeper. There's Frank Yallop, and there are a few names in American soccer that elicit a more positive response than the Monterey Bay manager. His 3rd year at the helm for the young franchise, 60 years old. Born in Watford but raised in Vancouver. Canadian Soccer Hall of Famer and a nominee previously for the U.S. Soccer Hall of Fame as well for all of his work building in MLS. Osamano. Atsu, that got away.
But those are the types of balls that you need from your center backs. Changing the point of attack to pin back Monterey Bay. And then you can let Blackstock and Atsu go at their individual markers. Good idea from Osamanu.
Stays with that too. Biasi. Suber back to Dick. Maury Donor. Biasi wants to go. Kept away from Mertz. Sample brings it down and launches into the final third. Johnson with the hold-up play. Acknowledging support, but Johnson continues. Levy's off. Walty, Sample. We're nearing 500 minutes without a Riverhounds goal. This is promising. In front toward Johnson, sent toward the river.
Good patience from the Riverhounds. Not trying to force the issue and let this play develop. As you have Blackstock come around the corner, it's the right idea, trying to force this ball into that first stick area. Kai Green, flawless in his positioning.
Blackstock. Lobbed ahead. And there's Herrera. Ironically, Herrera hadn't started a game yet this year, but has already been suspended. There's a big kerfuffle between Monterey Bay and Oakland early this season that ultimately saw Walmer Martinez receive the longest suspension, 4 games. But Herrera left the bench area after the game and was involved in a slight war of fisticuffs. Ended up being suspended anyways. However, gets a chance to jump into the starting 11 with Anthony Siaha missing due to an arm injury. We'll see the occasional suspension from the bench, but it's very rare that it's a guy who had not yet seen the field all season. And the most logical one to me was Megan Rapinoe once got a second yellow and was sent off for dissent from the bench.
I always find it so hard for a referee to pinpoint who said what when you're away from the bench. It's the reason why maybe I'm not on the field and I'm in here with you.
A hard one, Sample playing it up. And Martinez plays it out. This is a familiar sight. Atu seeking the give and go. Instead, up high, taken out of the air, ricochets, and knocked out of play by Herrera. Came off the back of Mertz in front of goal. And the man with the Yager-style haircut, Sample, blasting from long range.
Fantastic action from the Riverhounds as you play expansive, and now Monterey Bay is shifting, and there's gaps on going back the other way, and Sample hits it well. Very difficult technique to let this thing come across your body and let momentum do its thing. Fortunate enough for Monterey Bay, body's in front of it.
Mertz delivering. Plenty of contact. Blackstock was trying to come back to the ball. Play on. And then Walty gets run over by Baca.
There's shouts for a pen from the Riverhounds, but in my opinion, I do think it would have been really harsh to point to 12 yards out. As this ball gets whipped into the back post, Walmart, Martinez, and Blackstock. Nothing in that for me. There's a little bit of contact, but yet you think Joe Surgan, our center referee, has a really good angle at the play.
Mertz snagged by Herrera. And that is a monster distribution. Keeper way off his line, and Dick puts it in the river. That is the 13th ball lost to the river. I took a fair amount of trash talk. I was in Kansas City a couple weeks ago. They just built this gorgeous 11,000 seat stadium for their NWSL team. Players shanked the ball into the river. Here I am, as the crowd was, very excited. They had waited a long time, 7 games, to find out who'd be the first to put a ball in the river. And all the Pittsburgh fans are saying, we've been doing that for years. I don't know why this is such a big deal.
Well, I can't say anything more. You got really excited about that one.
Yeah, no, it's pretty special. It is now 500 minutes without a goal for Pittsburgh. Hounds of Monterey Bay. Critical points on the line. This gets out of play. And for what it's worth, that ball flying into the river, I mean, it doesn't take that much to put it in the Monongahela, but when you do, I mean, crowd really loves it.
I mean, he hit it well.
He did. Square.
Technique on 100, hips were open, up and over that fence. Fantastic stuff.
Yeah. Great job, Dick. Ball driven over the top for Johnson. Atu. Johnson got splashed. Play on, and the advantage of run out. Set piece in a good spot here for Pittsburgh, although Johnson paid a price.
A bit of a coming together between Johnson and Lara. No need, if you're Lara, the experience that you have, come overzealous. You try to make a play in this thing. You come through the backside of Johnson, and now you afford the Riverhounds the ability just to whip this thing into a very dangerous area, especially with the quality of Robbie Mertz.
Mertz kept away, plucked out of the air. Biasi keeps it alive. Alsamano living dangerously. Mertz plays it back, and that's a foul against Kiza. Well, unless you want Kiza to grow 6 inches, not really sure what you're expecting. Here's the ball in.
Really good servers in terms of the placement from Robbie Mertz, but Monterey Bay has dealt with everything very well to start this half. As this ball comes up. Let's see. I think Kiza has every right to try to get the right body position, or Donor just comes over the top of him.
I think sometimes we see a player crash hard to the ground and assume that there must have been a foul.
Yeah.
And in that instance, to me, it felt that Donor put himself in
100%.
in that position.
As a player, you have every single right to get the right body position to make yourself bigger and protect the ball, and I do think that's exactly what Kiza was doing. I saw the reaction from the forward as well, did not agree with the call from our center referee.
Hey, Fans Select is the official match ball supplier of the USL Championship and many elite leagues throughout Europe. Visit us.select-sport.com. The latest Select products, specials, and more. That's Select, the player's choice. 20 minutes gone tonight in Pittsburgh. We hope you had a great 4th of July. You're enjoying the holiday weekend wherever you might be. Atsu leading Walty. Corner.
And these wide areas are really causing problems for Monterey Bay as that 2 pushes wide. Now Maury Donor needs to shift over. Hasn't been the best in terms of the relationship and rotation, as Lars a bit slow. That's when you see those runs from a central location that are causing all sorts of problems.
Mertz will wait. Pittsburgh native, went to Upper St. Clair High School, eventually to Michigan. Mertz dangerously swiped that by Herrera. Did he get a piece? He did. It's a corner.
Keep the noise coming, Riverhounds fans.
So Mertz will flip sides here. Couple of years in Pittsburgh, couple of years in Atlanta, and then returned. Now 27 years old. Some doubted if he was good enough to go D1. He's turned into quite the pro career. Mertz. Header falling, Blackstock after it. Sample. Johnson holding up the restart, and that's a warning. Well, they've talked about adding, is it the orange card?
I think that would have been an orange card. No, sorry. No.
Yeah, that'd be a simple yellow, and orange
Yellow,
is
yeah,
right, like the
red,
5-minute removal or 10-minute removal. I think that should be like dodgeball, where he holds out the the thread. That's a warning. This is a bylaw. It's a bylaw.
We ask for your cooperation. Thank you for keeping Highmark Stadium safe and smoke-free.
Ball whipped to the backside, got by Baca, still alive. Eventually over the line, it was all offside. Dixon had arrived.
Talk about the quality from Walmart Martinez. The ability to whip in a ball from all sorts of angles over the shoulder of Suber as Baca gets caught offside. Such a clever play for Frank Yallop. Ability to unlock opponents in their back line, dictate tempo, but also the ground that he covers defensively as he shields his back four. And watch out here.
3 Riverhounds running in unison. Mertz! It was there for him, it really was. And if there was a man to break the hacks, it would likely be a guy like Mertz.
And we've seen the runs from Sample. That's been very active. As Kizza makes that near post run, he pulls out Kai Green, and the space is about 12 yards out. And Robbie Mertz, he should be doing better with it. A really difficult technique as you're running away from goal to get your foot wrapped around it in the end. Straightforward save for Herrera.
Well, it's been played largely on Pittsburgh's terms. We've hardly heard Husseini Buda's name yet. His first start on loan from San Jose. Debuted for Monterey Bay last week. Came off the bench to play 24 minutes in a 1-0 loss at Colorado Springs. Ronaldo Damas penalty, the separator in that Monterey Bay defeat. The Switchbacks continue to climb in the West. If anything, the Switchbacks should be an acknowledgement to everybody. They're the second to last team to get a win this year. Took them 6 games before they got a point. Had her back snagged by Dick. And here they are in the top 4 of the Western Conference.
And you alluded it in the open, how tight this Western Conference is. Second place all the way to around that playoff mark. Every point matters. You gather points on the road, but also if you're at home, 3 points is a must.
Women's soccer is coming to Pittsburgh. And not only that, we're down to the final 4. Scan the QR code on the screen and vote for your favorite name for the USLW Pittsburgh team. The voting closes on July 19th.
W League playoffs have started, by the way, for fans in Pittsburgh. If you heard that over the public address, want to get an idea of what the league's all about. Would love to see the Hounds get a Super League team here at some point down the line. Training camps just opened yesterday for the incoming Super League teams. They launch the 3rd weekend of August this year. The new Division I league, women's side in USL. That's a brave header by Osamano. Gesture out to Martinez from Chuy Enriquez. Baca, that's a man who can dictate the game. Offside.
Frustrating one. As Enriquez is looking down the line, to be a little bit better in terms of your discipline. Been really impressed with how congested the Riverhounds have made the center of the field, baiting Monterey Bay to go around. When they do, that's when they squeeze and force turnovers. Defensively, a side that's only allowed 19 goals in 2024. And you can see why. It's the other side of the ball that's been struggling for Bob Lilly and company.
And ultimately, we're talking about a historically bad conversion rate. This isn't... I really struggle. I've covered this league for a decade to put my finger on it. Because while there is plenty of turnover in that front group, there have been enough goals out of the players that came in that this is a fascinating disconnect from reality. Walty. And if there were a magic solution, I'm sure Bob Lilly would have found it by now. Etu crossing in front. That ends up wide. It's another dangerous service. And it is a corner won through the sheer effort of Edward Kiza.
Yet again, wide areas have been the point of emphasis for the Riverhounds. As Johnson, he stays fit right on top of that 6-yard box. Now that allows Kiza to go in behind him and try to get the right body position of Lauren. He does just enough to deny the Riverhounds the opening goal here. Fantastic positioning by the weak-sided center back.
Mertz offers, grab by Herrera. And the run out is on. And one man back, but that's well handled by the Hounds.
And they need to be careful. If that ball finds its intended target, it's a 4v1 for Monterey Bay.
It's still a bit of a broken floor here. Dixon. Competition is heating up this summer on CBS. Sacramento looks for revenge against Red Hot Oakland on Sunday, July 21st at 4 p.m. Eastern. Then on August 3rd, 4 p.m. Eastern, it's surging Detroit City hosting the now playoff positioned Rhode Island for the first time. It's the USL Summer of Soccer, and it continues on CBS. Kiza leading. Half an hour in the books here. Hounds just hosted their first national TV game at Highmark since 2020, a couple weeks ago on CBS Sports Network. Monterey Bay has been featured already on CBS SN this year, part of the new rights agreement between the USL and CBS, multi-year deal. And of course, there's the addition of the Spanish language network, TUDN. It's occurred recently as well. Johnson in front, and Herrera's there. Just would have needed a kiss from Kiza, but leaked by.
They've been really good, Kiza and Johnson, working off of one another, asking all sorts of questions of Lauren Green. But as Johnson gets the right body position, it's the last touch from Lara here that actually changes the angle, and Herrera does very well to read it. He's been really good between the sticks. Herrera has first start in USL 2024.
Martinez and Osamanu are down. It's worth noting that the temperatures are good enough that we don't need a hydration break. But at the half-hour mark, we're going to stop anyways. There is a substantial laceration for Martinez. And out of respect to the nature of that injury, we're not going to be showing the extent of it. So both players being looked at. Of course, the protocol follows the IFAB regulations relating to head injuries. If either player were to be removed as a result of this, there's actually a different color card that's handed to the referee. One that allows each team an additional, a 6th sub, as well as an additional substitution window. All eyes here on Walmer Martinez. We'll show you what occurred here from a wide angle, so as to not get too deep in the weeds here. See both players coming after it right here. Martinez rising up alongside Osamanu. And Martinez is up. That's good news, and Osamanu's gone to check on him. Good day to be in the shade here in Pittsburgh, even though the temperatures don't rise to the point of a potential hydration break. So Martinez is making his way off. The locker room is, I'm sure Pittsburgh fans are aware, is actually out on this left-hand side. Martinez isn't able to continue. And there is going to be a change coming for Monterey Bay. So Wilmer Martinez will have to come off here.
Starting now, get any half for 30% off. This offer expires.
We mentioned the head injury rules. Carlos Guzman has gone over to the fourth official. Although from the looks of it, Martinez getting bandaged up as if he's hoping to return to this game. The reality for Monterey Bay is they just don't have a lot of depth, and you can see Guzman being waved back down amongst the substitutes. It appears Martinez is going to try and give this a go. It's a very different look having Guzman in. Primarily has played as a center back, has played as the left in a 3, but as due to injury the last couple of weeks, touched a little more left back as well.
Definitely comfortable to shift to that left back position, but Wilmer Martinez gives you mobility. He gives you a different type of quality higher up the field. And hopefully if he's able to keep on going, it's going to be good news for Frank Yallop and company. Completely different side when you have two attacking outside backs, whether it's Wilmer Martinez or Maury Donor. But yet, Frank Yallop, the talent and never wavers, but he's been hit by the injury bug massively. And yet again, Robbie Mertz is shaking up a little bit.
And it appears he also has now suffered a knock to the back of his head that's caused blood. So we've gotten about 20 seconds of gameplay in the last 3 minutes due to a couple of clashes of heads. So Martinez is still being looked at. One of the underrated things is when you have an injury like this that causes, and you can see Martinez running back onto the field, and that is a substantive wrap job around his head. You also have to ensure that the jersey itself doesn't have any blood on as well. Kit men will call it either the blood kit, or there's a few different names for it. They do carry a spare, but there's also the ability to use a certain pen that'll allow you to mark off the blood and take away its potential as a biohazard. There's a yellow card for that from Adrian Rebelar. And play continues now.
Ammo has whipped up his almost world famous foot-long chili cheese ammo dog at the train. Are you feeling a need for heat? Grab some buffalo chicken nachos at Nacho Junction.
Dixon. And as you can see, now Mertz has gotten a wrap to his head. Into the penalty area, chipped up toward the backside. And Dick will wander over and scoop it up.
For Galloway there, you need to be a little bit more selfish. Biasi, he gets caught out. No rotation from the center back. He finds himself about 12 yards away from goal. Why not have a go and really test Eric Dick here? You go for the lower percentage in terms of trying to cross it, especially on the road. How ruthless can you be in front of net?
Walty brings it down. Yassi is cut out. Finds Kizza, high for Sample. Slips it ahead. Kizza! Knocked away by Herrera. Kizza brings it down again. And every keeper Pittsburgh's seen for a month resembles a steel curtain or a brick wall.
How good of a ball is this from Sample? Everyone thinks he's going to pull the trigger. At the last second, he picks up this run from Kizza, splits two Monterey Bay players. And if you're Kizza, you just get your foot around and pick out a corner. And you have the opening goal straight at Herrera. You can tell Kizza's lacking a little bit of confidence in that extra punch in front of net. But it's a fantastic ball from Sample.
Dick outside of his penalty area. That offered a little more danger, perhaps, than desired.
He's been impressive, Sample. 40 minutes into this match with his mobility, the runs out of midfield, but also very clever. That's a bad giveaway.
Yeah, it turns into a corner. That is certainly a self-inflicted shot in the foot. Guess we're taking that Allegheny idea all the way to the four. Music choice. Ball whipped across Suber. He lost his footing first, and that was always sort of ill-fated as a result. So we just play the music of Appalachia from time to time.
Only on corner kicks, though.
Yeah, yep. Seems like a grand time to tell you to tune into ESPN for a USL Summer of Soccer Showdown. Eastern Conference rivals Pittsburgh and Hartford battle to stay in the race for playoff contention. It's Saturday, July 20th, 7 p.m. Eastern time on ESPN2. Of course, those two were bitter rivals in the 2020 group style shortened season. Hartford won that group final couple weeks of the year, including taking a win over Pittsburgh. There was a pillow fight with the other two teams at the bottom. It was Loudoun and Red Bull 2, which at that point in time were not prepared to battle at that level. And from the looks of it, there's either blood on the jersey, which I think is what they're suggesting. Perhaps something's come through the headband. I think it's just a need for a jersey switch. So let's see what numbers on that jersey. If they brought an extra 11, it appears they did.
Impressive from the kit man.
No kidding.
Prepared.
Usually it's funny, if you can use that phrasing, you'll see the kit man come with like a number 99
yep.
or just a jersey with no number on it. Is their blood jersey. But Walmer's gonna use his second half jersey a couple minutes early. He has to stay off here. Ball floated in. Pittsburgh with a brief man advantage. Let's continue here. Get floated away. Baca knocks it down. And now Martinez waved back in. Baca knocks it wide. Angling high, Mertz stabs it away. Going to be recovered by Dixon. Baca give and go. Dixon lands with Dick. Atu. We've gotten it all. Barge, river cruise, train,
Ball in the river. Golly. Planes, trains, and automobiles.
Etu working off of Mertz. No Griffin today. Mertz with the armband. Biasi. Osamano. Suber. Biasi. Mertz. Driving this up. Herrera, strong two-fisted punch. Osamanu ducks out of the way, but an injury to Johnson will see play stop. And Johnson showing he felt he got an elbow to the face, though this does not make him bleed his own blood.
Really good ball in yet again from Robbie Mertz. His first touch sets him up. He'll swing it in. Rare player that we highlighted in the open with the opportunity for Siaha out due to injury. He's been really good. Commanding his 6-yard box as a goalkeeper. How decisive can you be when you come off your line? Teammate or not, you need to clear out any sort of traffic in front of you, and does just that.
Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster, or you can call 412-865-GOAL.
Apparently that did draw a bit of blood, so it's another tape up. Should leave the corner man at a boxing match quite perturbed.
There will be 5 minutes of stoppage
5
time.
added minutes. Johnson waved back in, and he joins Mertz and Martinez on the walking wounded list.
The headband crew.
The aforementioned Martinez, part of said crew. From Lara. Ball stripped free by Walty. Good strength in defense. Biasi on the dribble. Allowed through by Walty, that's good. That's Sample who let it out. Blackstock. Martinez off the head of Blackstock and out for a goal kick.
Just a little bit too slow from Blackstock to make a decision. A bit too predictable as he takes that touch out of his body. Walmer Martinez does fantastic as he closes down the space and denies the ball into a central location.
Mertz sending Kiza. Lara wheels it out of play. Thrown into Johnson. Down to Kiza. And he'll bang out of play for a corner. Set pieces have been reasonably dangerous from Pittsburgh.
It's time for another Hounds corner kick.
Another injury here. It has been a rough one. The athletic training staff, and that is Martinez. And with a quick rearrangement, they're going to have to redo the wrap. He got injured in a collision of heads with Robbie Mertz earlier in the half. I suppose it was Mertz who actually got hit on an aerial ball a couple minutes later, beg your pardon. So Samano had come up from center back. And a really uncharacteristic amount of injury time at this point. At this point, if you're Frank Yallop, clearly it's still the remnant of a head injury, right? I think there's a little bit of lack of clarity in relation to how concussion substitutes are used with injuries that perhaps have a longer term effect than the initial return as well, not the least of which the blood issue that's continuing there. That'll be answered shortly at some point. Mertz. Samanu comes out. Mertz. Free kick. Conceded by Dixon. Former teammates entangled.
Or is that very familiar with one another? Robbie Mertz gets the better of Alex Dixon there. A little stop and start. Any sort of contact, he goes down, he makes the most of it. And again, you'd expect quality from the right foot of Robbie Mertz, trying to whip this ball in right between that 6-yard box and penalty mark.
Mertz kept away from Johnson. Walty. So we've gone the 5 minutes, but there was that additional minute or so. Martinez down. Suddenly pretty enticing, and Baca was actually the front man in that attack.
About 2 or 3 times that Monterey Bay has been able to catch out Pittsburgh Riverhounds on the break, but not having the courage to play a bit more vertical. Electing to put their foot on the ball, have the circulation, and in doing that, now you allow the Riverhounds to get all 11 players behind the ball.
And then you give it away cheaply like that to Kiz, although he returns in kind. And halftime arrives in Pittsburgh. Still no closer to that breakthrough if you're the Hounds. If you're Monterey Bay, getting a win in Pittsburgh is extraordinarily, historically difficult. They've hung in there long enough. They've given themselves a chance to do just that in the second half, Ricky.
I think if you're Monterey Bay and Frank Yallop, you have to be pleased with how this game has progressed. Defensively, you're really tight, maybe a little bit more in transition, but for Bob Lilly, it's the same story. You've had half opportunities, but now the next step in the progression is finding the back of the net and being more ruthless in the attacking third.
So Bob Lilly wanders toward the locker room, continuing to ponder the right answers. Can they crack the code? Halftime is presented by 84 Lumber Company. Pittsburgh and Monterey Bay locking horns. It's another defensive stalemate at halftime. Plenty coming up after these messages.
Did you slip, trip, or fall and suffer serious injuries? It's the responsibility of businesses, landlords, and homeowners to keep their properties safe, and it's the law. Common hazards include broken or uneven sidewalks, decks in disrepair, crumbling steps, and missing railings, as well as unexpected wet floors or icy patches. You know them when you see them. Accidents just waiting to happen. Were you injured due to dangerous conditions? Call us now before evidence disappears at 1-800-94-EDGAR.
Halftime is presented by 84 Lumber Company. Pittsburgh and Monterey Bay are scoreless at halftime alongside the River here in the Steel City. Now, Sierra is a current Hounds Academy player with the US U16 national team, headed to a tournament in Turkey. Dupree's second international trip with the team will vie for a spot on the US squad at the FIFA U17 World Cup. Begins in October in the Dominican Republic.
Each year I say, wow, she just keeps getting better and better, and keeps striving and working hard toward her goals.
I mean, she's an absolute competitor. She's fearless. She's put the work in.
My name is Sierra Dupre, and I play for the Pittsburgh Riverhounds 2007 team, and I play central midfield.
Leaves it. Serrano fires in. What a free kick goal from Ray Serrano, and it's the icing on the cake for Louisville City.
Into the mix, Timmer gets ahead to it, not cleared yet. A Cianu save by Finiello. It's over the crossbar. Danny Finiello. Incredible performance by the goalkeeper of the year.
New flavors. The same traditions. Be the guest of honor. Add more flavor to your parties. El Jimador. Spiked Bebidas.
Gonna be Danny Griffin! Oh, that's a wonderful captain's goal for the Riverhounds! Vincent front! No! Michi Angelina!
We all have goals. But let's be honest, most of us aren't going to be professional athletes. But if your goal is to finish your degree, we can help. Come to a university that puts your goals first. Bellevue University, your partner in finishing goals.
They're hungry for the women's game. They want to see women's soccer. They want to play women's soccer, and that's what we're building at the USL. You can see it in my eyes, only want the best. Maybe grinding every night, won't settle for less. Got me looking to the sky, got me feeling blessed. Got this fire burning up inside of my chest. Burning up inside of my chest. Got this fire burning up inside of my chest.
Halftime is presented by 84 Lumber Company. Pittsburgh and Monterey Bay scoreless through the half. Mike and Ricky to walk you through all going around to the USL Championship at this juncture. Look around the league. Charleston on national TV last night. Dispatch of Birmingham 2-0. Who would have thought Rhode Island and Indy had a 3-3 draw in them?
It's a fantastic match at the Death, Rhode Island. Secures a point at home, but in the 11, what Sean McCauley has been able to get out of that group. Fantastic stuff in Detroit City, 0-0 against Tampa Bay Rowdies at Keyworth.
That's going to be quite a battle to watch here in the second half. That game's over on ESPN+. Take a look at the team of the week. A hat trick. ND Myers back in positive graces gets the nod, as well as Wilson Harris and Corey Bennett, who had a brace last week.
You look at this team of the week, just the talent. Quazera, he's been fantastic, had another assist last night. Gando, one of the most underrated players in my opinion for Las Vegas. The two-way midfielder, Zach Duncan, has come along for receiving glass in Memphis 9-1, and that back line of Akeem Ward, 2 assists, Carson Bomsteeg, will go on an assist as well. Memphis is fantastic form at the moment.
Yep, and Von Stieg will be the first one to tell you he has not been officially dribbled all season long. And hopefully that continues tonight at Orange County. The Open Cup continues this coming week, and Ricky, I know you're excited to jump on the call for one of these. 3 USL Championship teams remain. Sacramento will host Seattle, New Mexico will go to LA, and India will go to Atlanta.
I think you look at Indy 11, they're going to Atlanta, different Atlanta United side. They've just sold Thiago Almada. Giancamakis goes down to Mexico, firing of the head coach. So Sean McCauley, that side, we talk about their form, or the best opportunity, but yet Mark Briggs and Sacramento Republic, they've been here. They've gone to the final. They know what it takes to be successful at Lamar Hunt US Open Cup, but Seattle Sounders and Brian Spencer, what they've been able to do, they've gone through Lou City, they've gone to Phoenix Rising, and that was one that you need to circle.
Notably, Atlanta will not play at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. They'll play at Kennesaw, so a little bit of a neutral site feel. The USL Summer of Soccer on CBS and ESPN networks has only just begun. And Ricky, you and I are teaming up a bunch here in mid-July when we get back on CBS Sports Network.
Fantastic slate of games, but the one that I'm going to circle is the Yokan Roots against Sacramento Republic, July 21st. On big CBS, close in proximity. There's always a little bit of an extra motivation when those teams step up against each other, so keep an eye on that one at 4 p.m. July 21st.
Plenty more coming here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Hounds and MBFC trying to find the breakthrough on this gorgeous evening alongside the Monongahela. Halftime presented by 84 Lumber Company. Second half coming up.
At AHN, good heart care starts before you're just not feeling right. Before you say, it'll go away on its own. Before it doesn't. Because before an emergency, there's time to stop heart problems with a simple preventative heart check. At AHN, we see you.
Pittsburgh is our home. Check in with Thermo Twin. We are employee owned. Check in with Thermo Twin. Check in. Check in. Check in. Check in. Check in with Thermo Twin.
Check in with Thermo Twin for up to 25% off and 24 months free financing.
Check in with Thermo Twin. Whoa, yeah, yeah.
Whoa.
Nice. A little salt, a little sweet.
And a little scratch.
Ah, the new big cash payout.
Top prizes of $500 grand.
You've been down this road before.
He's answered every single question asked of him between the sticks, but yet, you look at this Riverhound side, whether it was from wide areas or the runs from Sample, he's been really active, asking questions and testing the shape of Monterey Bay. Robbie Merchant's going to want this one back. He should be doing better with it. From about 20 yards out. Straightforward save for Herrera.
End of the 31st minute, and the Pittsburgh onslaught continued. A number of knocks in this first half, a number of tight plays inside the penalty area. This ricochets kindly to Herrera, making his first start of the year. Pittsburgh just continued to apply the pressure as the half concluded.
getting themselves into more advantageous opportunities, and this is the best one of the first 45 minutes. A fantastic ball in from Sample. He takes out that whole midfield line, and that face says it all. Edward Kidza should be finding the back of the net. We walk into halftime 0-0.
Monterey Bay, not a single shot in that opening half. And Pittsburgh have put 3 on Herrera, but got none by him. We head toward the second 45.
I think it's going to be really interesting if you are Frank Yallop. What does the mentality look like in this second 45 minutes? Will not be surprised if we see them dip into the bench. Juan Martinez, will he continue, or will they play more direct in their transition style under Frank Yallop?
And indeed, there will be a change. You can see Carlos Guzman coming on for, well, I think we can say now the injured Walmer Martinez. He soldiered through the end of the first half, but Guzman will go the rest of the way here from Monterey Bay. They're without arguably their best goal scorer, Tristan Traeger, who has 6 goals. But you could also argue that Luther Archimet being down, no Chase Boone, Simon Dawkins hasn't played all year. It's been a painful season for the forwards from Monterey Bay. On to the second half we go tonight in Pittsburgh.
Coming out was number 11, Walmer Martinez. In his place, number 5, Carlos Guzman.
Guzman came out of Morelia's academy, ended up playing all across Mexico, to be honest. San Luis, Puebla, Tijuana, Leon, Necaxa, Toluca, Querétaro. And then he landed at San Diego midway through last year and really settled that side. With San Diego folding over the offseason with the impending MLS arrival. Guzman and also Xavi Nalati is available off the bench tonight, looking for new homes. You know, maybe my favorite, if you want to call it, stat from that San Diego team. So often you'll see a handful of guys where maybe they burrow in and find a home at a certain place, and maybe they're not highly sought after elsewhere. Every single pro member of that roster got signed to another team this year when San Diego folded.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
It tells you about the work that Nate Miller, Landon Donovan were able to do to get the best out of their players, and also how good of people they are. Right? Because you talk to every single coach in USL Championship about the new acquisitions of players that they want to sign, and it's the same constant message. We want to sign good people. We want good people in and around our building. It's a testament for the San Diego and what they've been able to do.
And I think the funny thing about Nate Miller, he landed at Real Salt Lake. If you're not on his team, he could wear on you a bit. I think opposing fans certainly like to have a bone to pick with him. Pittsburgh into the final third. Now that we've seen a couple of coaching changes around the championship, you wonder if Nate gets that call moving forward, including, shockingly, the Phoenix job opening up this past week after they got thumped by Memphis. Danny Stone is out for Phoenix Rising. He was the assistant to Juan Guerra, departed for Houston over the offseason. Stone lasted 16 games. Here's Mertz. Mertz! Mertz! Knocked away by Herrera. The seas parted for Robbie Mertz. And he tried to end what now is a 533-minute run without a goal.
Really good pocket of space that Mertz picks up off the shoulder of Baca. And as he advances into the 18-yard box, he has 2 options. Try to go for power in that near post or open up his hips and try to guide it into that far post. Straightforward save for Herrera as he pushes it wide of his near post.
8 shots, 4 on target for Pittsburgh. Monterey Bay is yet to threaten goal. Ball drops in, Mertz angling around. Baca followed him into the corner. You'll see some teams get wind taken out of their sails coming to Highmark. There's been no oxygen for Monterey Bay's attack. Sample.
Yeah, you look at the players that Frank Yallop has at his disposal. Enriquez, Buda, and Dixon don't need a lot of the ball to make their impact felt. So how tuned in mentally can you be if you are the three center backs of the Riverhounds? Something does tell me that Frankie Alp is going to elect to play more direct, try to live for transition moments as this half progresses.
Got away from Kizza. Good work by Pierce Galloway. A little bit extra there from Blackstock. They'll likely get him a quick talking to. Actually went under our camera platform down there. All's well that ends well. Thankfully, no blood. 3 stoppages in the first half for cuts that required treatment. You don't envy Herrera. He's staring right into the sun in this second half. Guzman. Ball held up by Buda. Here's Buda again. His first 24 minutes for the club came against Colorado Springs. Gets his first start today. Kizza started it. Mertz returns. Ball goes into the sideline. That last effort into the near sideline. Thought it went under the camera position. Actually went into the 4th official in the Red Hats table here. Timber.
Not the water bottle, impressive though.
Quite. Mertz. Mertz chips that up toward Johnson. Yanked down by Herrera. I'm sure you've gone into the ad boards or something of that vein in your illustrious career, Ricky. This lob toward goal and bounces wide. Dick left his line and Dixon nearly made him pay.
Just talked about the movement that Monterey Bay have, whether it is Buda or Dixon from outside in, really testing the shape of the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. And if this is on target, Dick is in all sorts of trouble. I think Dixon is going to want this one back.
Mertz down into the corner. Atsu. Osamano. Blackstock. This will lead into a dangerous spot. Atsu clanked off of Baca, corner.
Hey fans, it's time for another Riverhounds corner kick.
What an exciting game for Pittsburgh in front of goal. They've inched ever closer 7 corners now. Mertz delivers and grabbed by Herrera. What an enticing moment that was. Took you right to the edge of your seat.
And again, Herrera has been really good at commanding his 6-yard box, especially with the traffic oncoming. And Johnson tries to body him. Like about taking your opportunity with both hands. Carlos Herrera has done just that. But he's been quiet, booed up. A player that Frank Gallup expects a lot out of in terms of productivity, goals and assists. He's an attacking player that's come on loan from Monterey Bay. He's not been influential. We need to get him more involved. You get him in a rhythm. That's going to be a massive talking point for the visiting side.
All knocked down. A more beautiful vista in American soccer than this one. It's Monterey Bay inching toward the final third. Well, it was funny, I was talking to a player that was at Monterey Bay a couple weeks ago. You may not see it from their venue, but it goes down to the piers over the Pacific. The player described seeing a sea lion for the first time. Said they are among the loudest creatures he had ever come into contact with. I'm not going to suggest the sound that the sea lion made.
Just once.
Oh. Wiggling free. Cross dealt with, but put over the line. If you're Pittsburgh, you have to think how many times do you have to hit the stone with a hammer before it breaks. Another corner.
And also get more bodies around Herrera and try to impede him a little bit, try to throw him off. On Bob Lilly, I'm telling Robbie Mertz to aim for right over the head of Enriquez and put this thing into a dangerous area and just cause a little bit of chaos.
If you put this out in front of Herrera, he's going to end up running into the sun as well in his eyes. It's only an instance that'll occur the next couple of minutes here. This is a really unique look. All across from Mertz. Able to keep Biasi high. The other side, Guzman. Good time to tell you, if you can't watch the match, turn on Sirius XM FC 157, North America's only 24/7 source for engaging soccer talk, including USL All Access on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll see our live matches from the USL, MLS, Premier League, and more. It's all on Sirius XM FC 157 and the new Sirius XM app. What's the guardrail on calling it new? We have to be nearing it, right?
How long has it been?
I feel like I've been saying this for 2 years.
Okay, yeah, we've passed it.
Yeah. Ball hand to Johnson. Levies it off. And that's scuffed toward goal by Etu.
And again, there's glimpses of what this Riverhounds attacking unit can be. The movement, the creativeness, especially higher up the field. But it's that final execution that continues to let down Bob Lilly and company. We put a little bit more pressure under Carlos Herrera. Everything that you've asked of him, it's been straight to his hands.
Flick on, seeking Kiza. And Baca starts it out the other way for Monterey Bay. Held without a shot through 58 minutes. Dixon will get to 59 minutes without a shot. And isn't that just the scariest thing? This Monterey Bay team has a way of losing the statistical battle but winning the war. It only takes one against a keeper who hasn't made a save in about a month's time. Picked up a knock and then found himself on the bench. Ball through. Was kept away from Chuy Enriquez. And when you talk to Frank Yallop, he has this positive vein. Hey, we're all going to go through this at some point. The number of injuries they've suffered through. They bring in Buda, first sort of sign that perhaps the loan market for the summer is beginning to break open a bit. Brought him in from San Jose. Galloway, Ione, number of players that weren't around the team to start the year who've really found their way of late. Ball whittled across, comes high, blasted but blocked from Baca. The aforementioned Galloway takes it down. Monterey Bay has grabbed a shot now. On the whole, it's been one-way traffic. And part of the conversation he said the team has had is, got to get over it, boys. It's what it is. Good spin by Chuy Enriquez. Buda.
Just need to offer a little bit more. I'm your striker, Buda, whether it's making those selfless runs towards a corner flag to pull out one of the center backs or coming to feet and being part of the build out. Seemed a step too slow, getting pushed off the ball a little bit too easy. The result of that, Monterey Bay has suffered in the attack.
Guzman, back set header sent away. Not back in, but Rebelar's header out to the halfway line.
I can understand if you ask Buda, he wants to play wide. He wants his heels on the touchline so he can go at players. Yet due to the injuries that Monterey Bay has, as of right now, how do you impact the game when you're not playing in your most natural position as a number 9? It's those types of runs. And in combination, the first line of pressure, off the ball stuff that can really be influential for the players around you.
And then you go up against this Pittsburgh team that even when it's not going right, they're still not going to hand you anything.
100%. Very difficult to break down. The organization that Bob Billy has instilled in his side is what we come to expect. Another player that Monterey Bay needs to get going is this man on the ball, Rebelar. Very quiet as well, playing as a withdrawn striker. His movement needs to be a little bit more decisive.
Big diagonal hit over top of Dixon. Baca settles. Donner and Rebelar go to work. I'd like to see potentially Moby Fair get in this game at some point in midfield. He is available coming off of an injury. How many minutes is he capable of? Enriquez trying to get the end line. That scoots all the way down the line, and Pittsburgh had to play it. Guzman shuffles across over Rebelar. Baca. Header away, sample further, and that's more convincing.
Fans, just a reminder that after the game, players will be signing autographs on the pitch. Stick around to meet the team, presented by King Orthodontics. Pittsburgh's most confident smiles with locations in Wexford and Bridgeville. Visit them online at kingorthodontics.com.
Well, that's a story, isn't it? Rebelar. That'll play. Good slide, but still on here. Sent whistling wide. And Dixon trying to play the hero tonight.
Bring them out, bring them out, bring them out, bring them out. It's hard to yell when the bat rails in your mouth.
Couldn't have said any better myself. Double change here for Pittsburgh. The championship's all-time leader in appearances will come on. Mertz comes off. He'll hand the captain's armband off to Canardo Forbes. This midfield dealing with the rare absence of Danny Griffin, who hadn't missed a minute all year. And then Babacar Dieng in off the bench. Replaces Johnson. Finally take that wrap off.
It's a different look now for the Riverhounds. We'll see Forbes come centrally, try to be part of the build-out, but can also, that killer pass to unlock Monterey Bay. Dieng will play as a stand-up number 9, physical, back to goal, likes to bring players into this game. So what does a movement from Kizza look like, whether it's underneath him or running in beyond him? Tactical changes from Bob Lilly.
First subs for Bob. Sample. Suddenly enticing here. Ball across, met easily. It was Dieng, who's playing with a little bit of width at the moment.
The second time that the Riverhounds have found that little pocket right off the shoulder of Baca in front of Lara. So if you're Monterey Bay, how do you negate that space? Whether it's Baca dropping in, Donor pushing more centrally, or asking your two center backs to be more aggressive at stepping off of their line.
Double sub coming in a moment for Monterey Bay. They've used one, although it's unclear whether or not that was a concussion substitute. So it was due to an injury suffered in the first half, but came at halftime. Forbes ran it down. The Hounds reset in the attacking half. Suber pumps it into the width. Sample, now Etu, exchanging places, high for Forbes. Clips to Blackstock, lays it across, but Blackstock was offside. Dieng was waiting, although that ball is a bit wayward. The sub comes for Monterey Bay here. It's it for Pierce Galloway. Moby Fair makes his return. His first appearance off the bench all season, his 16th game.
Into the match, number 13, Moby Fair.
And then Jerry Ione in off the bench. And Rebelar's night is done. Rebelar was on a yellow, but you mentioned they were trying to get him more involved in this game. The flow really never did find him.
Didn't make his impact felt whatsoever. It's really difficult when the game is so tight in terms of the spacing to play as a number 10. You don't want to come too deep. You don't want to stay too high. You have to find the right amount of balance, and he never really found that. Now you have Ione, a player that can create for himself as well. I do think Moby Fair is going to be a massive part of Monterey Bay if they have any say in this match.
Forbes hangs this up, Dieng. Trying to bring that back down. Dieng has one of those sort of magic touches on the ball. He's throwing that right at frame. We did just receive confirmation that the sub at halftime did not fall under the concussion protocol instituted by IFAB a couple of years ago. So each team does, at this stage, have 5 available subs for the night, as opposed to being granted the 6th. We actually saw an instance of this last week, and I had never seen it before, where a player had gone on to play something like an additional 30 minutes. And then they used the concussion substitute card as symptoms had entered into play later in the game.
That's scary.
It certainly is. Yeah. And that's one of the interesting parts about this. The goal is naturally, as you'd hope, the health and safety of the player. But that also sort of allows teams to potentially, if it were used in the wrong way, ball ahead to Buda, and ran out of real estate, to use it for nefarious reasons as well, because it came right in stoppage time. You get fresh legs on the field, the defender for an attacking player. In every way, that benefited the team. That's part of why it's important that there's an independent medical personnel in the building for those kinds of decisions as well. So ultimately, nothing supersedes the health of the player. Guzman slicing that in behind. Blackstock plays that in behind early. Kiza. Enriquez, Blackstock got there, Osamano. Now Walty. Sample. Kiza. Sample.
His balance is all off. Kiza does extremely well to create a little bit of space and just rolls it into the path of Sample. But as he stabs at it, he's leaning back, and that's why it goes up and over the crossbar. More fluidity, more confident, it seems like, since Deannis came onto this pitch. Kiza has came a little bit more alive, making those runs down the channel. And Bernardo Forbes has been on the ball, and he's been really active.
Elsewhere, Detroit has just grabbed the lead. They are down a man against Tampa Bay and still scored 12 minutes later. Abdoulaye Diop sent off in the 59th. Elvis Amo scoring the opening goal in the 71st. That game now in the 74th minute. Dragged down by Dien. Overtaken by Donor, and Green able to start it the other way. Detroit has 3 shots against Tampa Bay, but they have the lead with 15 minutes to play. That's a big game right in that 3 to 5 position behind Charleston and Louisville at the moment, and Indy as well.
Saturday, as we honor our newest class of Riverhounds Hall of Fame inductees. Be one of the first 1,000 fans and receive your very own Riverhounds Mount Rushmore. Limited tickets are still available.
Off the mark from Enriquez. The USL Championship is on CBS Sports and ESPN platforms all season long. Catch live matches, expert analysis every day on the CBS Sports Golazo Network, the ESPN Plus. Go to USLChampionship.com for the complete USL TV listings. The Golazo game of the week this evening. Orange County and Memphis, free to watch on the CBS Sports app. Louisville and Oakland, just a handful of those interconference games tonight. They're just a little unique to see on paper, including, of course, this Monterey Bay Pittsburgh matchup. First time Monterey Bay has ever come to Highmark. I'm not so sure they like their welcome. If they take a point here by any measure, it'll be a good night, the way this is played out. Blackstock. Ten winless in all competitions for Pittsburgh. To go back quite some time to have a stretch that felt quite like this. reaching the end line. Flung across, grabbed by Herrera, but that did get out. It was off a Monterey Bay deflection. It's the latest corner for the Riverhounds. They're nearing double-digit corners. But this is the first they'll be taken by Forbes. Forbes. Ball settled. Lash back toward frame and appeal for a handball, and the frustration from Suber is obvious. Simano did really well with that.
Just look how deep the Riverhounds are sitting. All 11 players in their defensive half. So if you are Monterey Bay, you need to be a lot quicker with the ball in your decision making.
This is enticing. Deanne with a deflection, never got to Forbes. It's still there. Kizza. Forbes. He thought about swinging at it. High sample. It was offside.
As you have a lot of the ball in Monterey Bay, you cannot overextend yourself and leave yourself vulnerable going back the other way. Fortunate enough for Frank Yallop and company, Deanne makes a wrong decision. 2v1, have a go, take it yourself, and put some pressure under Kai Green. As you try to shift this ball back across where it came from, you make life very easy for the center back. Those are the types of moments that if you're Bob Lilly, you're asking your attacking player to be a little bit more confident.
'82 and sunny in Pittsburgh as the sun is set over Highmark Stadium. In Western Pennsylvania. Ione into the width. The return gobbled up by Forbes. Sample's done really well tonight.
He's been really impressive. We talked about as Andy Griffin steps off the field due to injury. What is that going to look like for Sample? And he's been up to the challenge and more.
Blackstock. Only the 6th start of the year for the 23-year-old out of the University of Louisville. Arrived in the December Combine the Riverhounds so famously host. That eliminated a line or two. Ione. Dick holding on to a saveless clean sheet at the moment. Baca. Wouldn't blame Pittsburgh if that's what really chaps them tonight. Monterey Bay just completely hapless on the offensive end, and yet still scoreless.
And it's been the story of their season. Good defensively, but no real ability to find real-time solutions higher up the field. And yes, sticking the ball in the back of the net is the hardest thing in this sport. But you look at the talent, whether it is Kizza, Sterling, Griffin, Ushikalusa as well, DN, all these players that have had success in their career in the USL Championship, they know what it takes to be on winning teams, to get results. And I asked Bob Lilly, what's the morale look like? What's the vibe in the building, on the training field? And he said it's actually been really good. We've been giving these players a lot of individual responsibilities in terms of their preparation, what they need to do on training grounds, watching film, and just seeing the ball hit the back of the net. Hopes that I can translate once game day comes. But yet 80 minutes in here tonight against the Monterey Bay side, who's coming off a loss at Colorado Springs, just hasn't been decisive enough, ruthless enough yet to execute and around that 18-yard box.
And a Union side that has just really suffered of late. Samanu, that's a domineering header. Bach has been there.
And those are the hardest balls to deal with as a striker. You want to whip it in around the chest height. Lar just comes over the top of Kizza. As an attacking player, you always want to know where the center back is as he's trying to pin him. You can only do that for so long, so if there is air underneath the ball, plays to the advantage of the defender to come over the top or just step in front of you, and exactly what Alex Lar does.
Well, it's a good time to tell you that there are always goals in eFootball. eFootball 2024 is here. So live your dream, rep your team, and play as your favorite USL Championship club. eFootball free to play, so download now. The idea of Bob Lilly or Frank Yallop testing their wits in eFootball brings me an inordinate amount of joy, to be frank. 7 injuries. I've dealt with that before.
Yeah,
yep.
Two managers I've seen everything that the game has to offer.
Yallop came through Ipswich Town, played with the Mutiny late in his career, landed in San Jose, the Galaxy, Chicago. In the championship has led Phoenix, Vegas, headed the front office in Fresno, which was the same ownership group that now leads Monterey Bay. Bob Lilly, it's really been done beneath the MLS level. Lobbed long, nodded over top. Kizza swept inside. Sample now across from Kizza. Header in front of goal. DN. There's Herrera. Advancing the other way, cut out in front of Ione. Approaching the end line, getting the angle, playing it across, lashed away by Forbes. Oh, that was a begging service.
As we go to their previous opportunity, it's a fantastic little header back across from Walty to give Dien an opportunity. Not enough power straight at Herrera. And as the two players go to the end line, the back line for Monterey Bay, they're retreating. So the space is about 12 yards out. And those are the ones that if you are Forbes, you don't need to hit it hard. Let momentum do its thing. Open up your hips and simply just pass it into a corner. Clean contact is a top priority there. He swings for the fences and gets it all wrong. What a fantastic opportunity that would have been for the Riverhounds. Thieves find the first goal here in the 84th minute.
2 months and 2 days without a win for Pittsburgh. Go back to May the 4th. They lost in the Open Cup to Tulsa that week. Then 9 winless in the league in the interim. Mention as Baca gets forward. And back to Dick. Mentioned Lily's been everywhere. Coached indoor. Hershey, Harrisburg, the old Pittsburgh Stingers. Played a leading role in the outdoor game at Montreal, Vancouver before their MLS era, Detroit. Of course, Rochester, before he trekked to Pittsburgh 7 years ago. And nearly from the very beginning, it was the perfect fit. We've reached the Eastern Conference Final. Last year, they won the Players' Shield. The hangover and the fact that any team that tends to win something in this league becomes an organ donor for the rich. It's made this slide feel all the worse with 5 minutes remaining, trying to find that long-awaited goal, long-awaited win. Pittsburgh preparing a change in a moment. Try and get a few more attacking players on. Fair. Bob Lilly so prides himself. I remember talking to him last year. That good run in the Open Cup, and yet they were still hanging in the league. Ultimately won the Players' Shield as that inches toward the goal line. And he said, I don't believe in finishing 5th and hoping to get hot at the right moment. Ultimately, that's exactly what Phoenix did last year to win the title, but it's not a commonality. Blackstock off. Here comes Aiden O'Toole. And then the other sub is the one that's really enticing. Is this the day that Enoch Mushagalusa finds his first for the Hounds? Replaces Kiz up front. Comes in the right mentality. You can see from that grinny, toothy smile.
Talented 1v1 ability. A player that had a lot of success, whether it was at Lou City, a nice little stint for San Diego, Hartford Athletic. Never made it really stick here, but now Bob Lilly gives you the ability, the opportunity to make your impact felt. Do they need it? 4+ remaining here. Big time chance here for Enoch Mushagalusa.
Mushagalusa trying to finagle his way free. He's on it now. Forbes tried to turn, now he's got it. Pushed off Baca, sweeps it through. Ball ricochets around and ends up away. Donor with the clearance. Ball muscled free by Sample, but that too couldn't hang. Well, Samano comes up to take it. Inside Forbes. Over to Walty. Blocked by Guzman. Smashed down, O'Toole stuck his foot in. Dien. Overtaken, but there's Sample. Sample knocked down by Lara. And Sample took it out for a corner. Hounds have all 9 corners tonight. Into Sample. Forbes, Sample. Sample still on the ball.
This takes a little bit too long, Sample. As Forbes has this nice little clever cutback. Continue your movement right here. You take that fantastic first touch, have a go with your second one. As you try to dance on it a little bit too long, now the angle and the window's a lot tighter.
Forbes. Leaked over him. O'Toole. Simano. Threads that nicely. Deanne. Outside Forbes. Onto his right. Steered backside. Atu. Backstops. Sample. A lot of numbers forward. Cutting inside, lashed across. Still Pittsburgh persist. 3 added minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, there will be an additional 3 minutes of stoppage time. That's an extra 3 minutes to make some noise!
Ball hit back, chance for Monterey Bay, they've stolen it! Oh wow! That is unreal! Buddha puts it home! Their first shot on target all night, and Pittsburgh implodes at Highmark.
Just too casual from Suber. It's a fantastic first touch, to be fair. Not enough weight, but you have to give credit to Buddha. Opportunistic in nature, not giving up on the play. As Dick comes off his line, he says thank you very much, simply guides it past the goalkeeper. Against the run to play, yes. Monterey Bay will not mind. Off to the corner to celebrate. 90th minute.
Unreal. One shot. 0.03 expected goals to that point.
Number 37.
Wild. Senny Buddha gets his first goal for Monterey Bay. He was simply willing to put in the extra mile, figuratively and literally.
And we talked, Mike, about how do you impact the game as a number 9 when you're not on the ball. It's your effort, it's the off the ball movement.
Header up, Mushagalusa trying to get beneath it. Baca, and now cleared.
That can be the difference. Yet he continues his run and just gambles, and he gets rewarded. It's like about a game changer, a player that Frank Yallop wanted to get, that he needed to get. And he rewards his manager. First shot on target. Ball in the back of the net. It does seem like Monterey Bay is going to steal all 3 points here.
Forbes. Deanne. Baca. Collision in the air that sees Lara down. Lara saying, no, I can continue, because if the athletic trainer comes out, he'd need to wait out the final seconds potentially of this match from the sideline. And the athletic trainer has come out. It'll be a throw for Pittsburgh with just seconds remaining, and you can see it, hands on hips. Pittsburgh puts so much into this game. They must be left absolutely shocked. Watch Lara come in there on your screen. Looks like he caught an arm here from Deanne.
I think it's the right arm for Deanne. A little bit away from his body, extended. Exactly what Alex Lara is telling Joe Sergen, our center referee. Gets caught.
Lara wants back in. Final seconds, Lara returns. And here it is for Pittsburgh. Walty. Header snap down. Suber! Blocked. Still it's on. Turning. Laying through. Donor. Send that away. Off of Etu, and that should do it. Monterey Bay just suffered for 91 minutes. Stole the goal. That should move them just a hair higher on the table, out of 7th place. And Pittsburgh's misery poised to continue. It's hard to remember a game in which it felt like it was stolen that fashion in quite some time in this league. Ball knotted down. Hounds still in pursuit of a point. Baca sends it away, and that's it. Monterey Bay go away to Pittsburgh and beat the Hounds.
Final score.
A 91st minute thievery from Monterey Bay. Buddha's first for the Union. And the Hounds winless skid is now 10 in the league.
Just incredible. Incredible from Frank Yallop. Ability to galvanize his side and suffer that much. Bend, don't break mentality and steal this game at the end. But you look at this Bob Lilly side, the opportunities were there, and that's exactly what he mentioned on our phone call this week, Mike. We have opportunities, but we're just not finding the back of the net, and it's the same story for the Pittsburgh Riverhounds.
The man of the match stepped in for the team captain tonight with Danny Griffin out. Bradley Sample, his motor was unbelievable tonight. The man of the match is presented by Modelo.
I thought he was fantastic in the middle of the park for the Riverhounds. He talked about his work rate on both sides of the ball, but he was really smart when he had the ability to pick and choose to advance himself. Crafty on the ball, big-time player for the Riverhounds.
Well, tonight's smooth save of the game is presented by Smoothie King. There were no saves tonight, so really it's the defensive plays that kept that fact intact.
Comes off his line, Eric Dick did not have much to do.
But in the one moment that Pittsburgh was put under siege, Aseni Buddha puts it away in the 91st minute, and Monterey Bay pick up 3 priceless points on the road. Our Pulse game is presented by 84 Lumber Company. Monterey Bay wins it. We'll wrap it up on the other side of the break.
Whoa, yeah, yeah.
Whoa.
Nice. A little salt, a little sweet.
And a little scratch.
Ah, the new big cash payout.
Top prizes of 500 grand.
You've been down this road before.
Let's just say I'm a road hog. Keep on scratching!
At AHN, good heart care starts before you're just not feeling right. Before you say, it'll go away on its own. Before it doesn't. Because before an emergency, there's time to stop heart problems with a simple preventative heart check. At AHN, we see you.
Call 1-800-NEW-ROOF and you'll see the difference between other roofing companies and Ireland Contracting. Like Tom here. He's a professional.
Deanna?
Yes.
Hi, Tom from Ireland Contracting. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. You're right on time.
Always.
Let me show you my concern.
Absolutely.
And so, Tom will do a free inspection, answer your questions, and give you a realistic estimate. He takes your home's improvements so seriously, he treats it like his own. That's the Ireland contracting difference. Call 1-800-NEW-ROOF and see for yourself.
Well, this is a puzzling conclusion. Let's take a look at our Pulse game highlights. They're brought to you by Corona. And Pittsburgh had all the chances in the opening 90 minutes.
I'll say it's all one-way traffic for the entirety of the match. As Robbie Mertz peels up, it's a straightforward save for Herrera, and you're going to see a lot of the same sorts of actions from the Riverhounds, getting themselves into that final third, but yet not having the ability. Fantastic ball in from Sanford. If you're Kizza, pick out a corner, and you have the opening goal. You put it straight at Herrera again, but yet you look at this Monterey Bay side, the ability to suffer together, to galvanize, and it's just too casual from Super. Takes a fantastic first touch, to be fair, but you need to be secure, you need to be confident in the second action. Not enough weight. Buddha says, thank you very much. I get rewarded for my extra effort against the run of play, against everything. Monterey Bay steal all 3 points, and they go back to California.
It was first for Monterey Bay, and what a moment to grab it. It's going to be a long end of the season with all the injuries, and well, he's got his first of what he hopes to be many. Here's a look at the final match stats, and they tell one hell of a story. Chance for your final thoughts.
Needs to be better in front of goal, needs to be more effective and clinical for Bob Lilly, and that's something that he understands, and that's something that he's going to echo to his players. If you're Frank Yallop, you pack your bags and you get out of here as quick as possible from back to front. You galvanize together, you bend, but you don't break, and then when you got an opportunity, you made no mistake about it.
And a far too familiar sight on the grounds here at Highmark Stadium. Bob Lilly speaking to what has to be just a stunned Riverhounds team. They end up falling here 1-0, and it's now 11 winless all comps and 10 winless in the league. 4th of July weekend, and it seemed like we were due a firework or two, and yet the Hounds held off the board. A good effort by Herrera, his first start of the year, a clean sheet. 84 Lumber Company presents your final score tonight. Monterey Bay inch up the Western Conference with a wild win in Pittsburgh. For Ricky Lopez, Aspen, our whole team in Pittsburgh and beyond, Mike Watts saying so long and good night.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League Championship cannot be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the expressed written consent of the United Soccer League Championship.